Have you ever wondered if you're ignoring signs that might be putting your relationship at risk? Or maybe you've started to notice changes in your partner's behavior and aren't sure what it really means. In today's video, we're going to reveal the signs that, if you don't pay attention, could be the key to knowing if your relationship is truly on the brink of ending. Stick with me until the end, because I guarantee you'll see things in a completely new way. If you're uncertain or have noticed something strange, this video is for you. Let's find out together what's really going on. When someone you love and trust breaks that trust, the emotional impact is devastating. It's like the ground disappearing beneath your feet, leaving a void that seems impossible to fill. The pain of betrayal isn't just about the act itself, but everything it represents. Broken promises, shattered expectations, and often, the end of a future you envisioned with that person. This experience can trigger an avalanche of emotions: rejection, deep sadness, anger, and often, a sense of inadequacy. You may ask yourself, why did this happen to me? What did I do wrong? These doubts are common, but it's crucial to remember that betrayal is someone else's choice, not a reflection of your worth. Overcoming betrayal isn't a linear process. Some people handle the emotional trauma better, while others might take years to rebuild trust, not just in others, but also in themselves. It's like healing a deep wound. First, there's the shock of the pain. Then you need to treat the wound carefully to avoid infections, which, in the case of betrayal, can be lingering resentments and hurts. Even after the wound heals, the scar remains as a reminder of what happened. Another important point is understanding that betrayals rarely happen out of nowhere. There are small signs that can be noticed before the damage becomes irreversible. Behavioral changes, such as irritability for no apparent reason, emotional distance, or even frequent lies, can be indicators. Recognizing these signs isn't about being paranoid, but rather being attentive to the dynamics of the relationship. Additionally, overcoming this pain requires patience, self-care, and often, external support. Talking to trusted friends or seeking help from a therapist can help organize your thoughts and rebuild what's been shaken. Many people find strength in hobbies, new goals, or even reconnecting with themselves. The pain of betrayal, though intense, can be transformative. You may not erase what happened, but you can learn from the experience. Perhaps it will teach you to set clearer boundaries, value your own company, or recognize warning signs in future relationships. As they say, betrayal can be a full stop, but it can also be the beginning of a new story. A story where you put yourself first. Being in a relationship with toxic people is like carrying a backpack full of stones. It gets heavier and heavier, and often, you don't notice the impact until you're completely exhausted. These people drain your energy, make you doubt yourself, and often create an environment of constant tension and negativity. In the context of relationships, whether romantic, familial, or friendships, the presence of toxic people can prevent your emotional growth and even undermine your self-esteem. But how do you recognize a toxic person? Usually, these individuals have consistent behaviors of manipulation, control, or disrespect. They may criticize everything you do, minimize your achievements, or worse, make you feel guilty for things that aren't your responsibility. It's common for toxic people to use their own insecurities to put you down, often in such subtle ways that you don't realize it immediately. What many don't understand is that distancing yourself from a toxic person isn't an act of selfishness, but of self-preservation. When you stay close to these people, you end up absorbing their negative energy, and this can directly influence how you feel about yourself and how you handle other relationships. If you've ever felt that immediate relief after distancing yourself from someone who constantly made you feel bad, you know exactly what I'm talking about. On the other hand, distancing isn't always easy, especially if the toxic person is someone close, like a partner, longtime friend, or even a relative. In these cases, setting clear boundaries might be the first step. Say no when something crosses your boundaries, avoid unnecessary arguments, and prioritize your peace. If you notice that this person continues to cross boundaries or ignore your feelings, it may be time to sever ties completely. Something that helps in this process is surrounding yourself with people who support and uplift you. Being around those who truly value you serves as a reminder of what a healthy relationship should be. When you start prioritizing your mental and emotional health, you realize there's no room for those who bring you down. And this decision to walk away is an act of courage, a crucial step toward connecting with happiness and the healthy relationships you deserve. When someone starts acting differently, especially in a relationship, it's natural to feel like something is wrong. These inexplicable changes in behavior can be small at first, but they usually leave a trail of discomfort. This can include things like irritability for no apparent reason, a lack of interest in activities that were once done together, or even the classic, "I'm too busy," repeated frequently. Why does this happen? When someone is hiding something, whether it's guilt over betrayal, unspoken stress, or personal issues, these emotions often manifest in their actions. For example, the person may become more defensive when questioned, start avoiding deep conversations, or even create unnecessary conflicts to justify the distance. This change in behavior may reflect an internal conflict that's being poorly managed. A key tip is not to ignore these signs. Often, unusual behavior is the first warning that something in the relationship needs attention. However, it's essential to approach this with balance. If you notice the person is more distant or irritable, ask carefully what's going on without creating an accusatory tone. Say something like, "I've noticed you've been different lately. Is everything okay? Is something bothering you?" This approach creates space for the person to open up if there's something to be said. On the other hand, if the person reacts aggressively or continues to deny clear changes, it's important to pay attention to their actions beyond their words. Behaviors like avoiding eye contact, canceling plans at the last minute, or always being too busy could be indicators that something more significant is happening. Remember, not every change in behavior means something negative. Sometimes, the partner may be dealing with personal problems that have nothing to do with the relationship, like work stress or family concerns. Therefore, before jumping to conclusions, observe the pattern. A temporary change may be normal, but if unusual behaviors become frequent and unexplained, it may be time to have a more serious conversation. Recognizing and dealing with these signs is a way to protect not only the relationship, but also yourself. After all, understanding what's behind the other person's behavior can help avoid confusion, unnecessary hurt, and in some cases even strengthen the bond, or, if needed, know when it's time to move on. Emotional distance can be one of the hardest signs to identify in a relationship, but it's also one of the most painful. It's that feeling that, even though the person is still physically present, they are no longer truly connected. Suddenly, conversations become shallow, time spent together feels forced, and even small displays of affection disappear. It's as if the we has been replaced with two separate individuals, living in the same space but in different worlds. This distance usually doesn't happen all at once. It builds gradually, almost imperceptibly, like when someone stops texting during the day or starts avoiding conversations about future plans. Sometimes the person seems disconnected emotionally, showing little interest in your stories, feelings, or even the routine you once shared. Maybe they no longer ask about your day, or they spend more time focused on other activities like work or their phone. The hardest part about emotional distance is that it can have many causes. In some cases, it might reflect external issues like work stress, financial concerns, or even mental health problems like anxiety or depression. On the other hand, it could be a sign that the relationship is facing deeper issues, like a loss of connection, or even the beginning of a more serious disinterest. If you notice this distance, the first step is to create space for an honest conversation. Instead of accusing or judging, try expressing your feelings clearly and gently. Something like, "I've felt like we're drifting apart lately, and it's been worrying me. Can we talk about what's going on?" This approach shows that you're open to listening and working through it together, rather than just pointing out the problem. But it's also important to observe the other person's response. If they seem open, you can work together to reconnect. This might involve spending quality time together, revisiting hobbies you once enjoyed, or even seeking professional help, like couples therapy. On the other hand, if the emotional distance persists and the other person shows no interest in addressing it, it might be time to reflect on what this relationship truly means to you. Loving someone also means recognizing when the other person is no longer investing in the relationship and having the courage to prioritize your own emotional well-being. Healthy relationships require presence, both physical and emotional. If you feel alone in a relationship, it's a sign that something needs to change, whether it's making an effort to reconnect or deciding to move on. Excessive kindness, although it may seem positive at first, can actually be a red flag in a relationship. Of course, it's natural for people to want to please those they love, but when this kindness becomes sudden, exaggerated, or disconnected from the usual routine, it could indicate something more is behind the change. Think of situations where the other person starts making excessive gestures of affection, giving over-the-top compliments, or offering frequent gifts without any apparent reason. In a healthy relationship, these actions would be welcomed, but if they come out of the blue, it's worth asking yourself, are they trying to make up for something? This behavior could be linked to feelings of guilt or an attempt to distract you from something the other person is trying to hide. Excessive kindness can also be used as a form of manipulation. In some cases, the person might be trying to create a smokescreen so you don't notice behaviors they want to keep secret, like emotional withdrawal, lies, or even infidelity. This doesn't mean all kindness is suspicious, but sudden, exaggerated changes should be considered within the context of the relationship. One way to handle this is to observe whether there's consistency between the person's actions and their overall behavior. For example, someone who's constantly trying to please you but avoids deep conversations or shows signs of emotional distance might be using kindness as a way to cover up bigger problems. Another tip is to pay attention to your own feelings. If you feel that these gestures of kindness seem forced rather than genuine, trust your instincts. If you're feeling suspicious, it's best to approach the situation calmly and clearly. Ask directly but without accusations, "You've been really sweet lately, which I think is amazing, but I've noticed this feels different from what we're used to. Is everything okay?" This approach creates space for the other person to explain their behavior without feeling attacked. On the other hand, it's important not to jump to conclusions. Not all excessive kindness is negative. The person might be trying to improve the relationship or simply expressing their love in a different way. The key is to observe whether there's consistency between their actions and what's being said. In a healthy relationship, gestures of kindness are balanced and natural, reflecting genuine affection between both people. When this balance is abruptly disrupted, it's worth investigating what might be motivating it. That way, you can protect both the relationship and yourself, ensuring you're both on the same emotional path. Being blocked on social media without explanation can be a clear sign that something's wrong in the relationship. Social media is an extension of our personal lives, and in a relationship, it usually reflects the connection and transparency between partners. When someone decides to block the other without any apparent reason, it raises important questions about trust, respect, and what's really happening behind the scenes. Blocking can indicate that the person is hiding something. Maybe they're trying to prevent you from seeing conversations or interactions with others that might raise questions. In some cases, it could be a way of creating emotional distance or even deliberately excluding you from part of their life. On the other hand, blocking doesn't always mean infidelity or something that extreme. Sometimes it's a reflection of conflicts or misunderstandings within the relationship. Maybe the person acted impulsively, especially after an argument, or is using the block as a form of emotional manipulation. In these cases, the block might be an attempt to get your attention or provoke a reaction. If you've been blocked, the most important thing is not to react impulsively. Avoid making accusations or sending excessive messages trying to figure out why. This could make the situation worse and create more distance. Instead, look for an opportunity to have a mature, open conversation. You could say something like, "I noticed you blocked me on social media, and it's left me feeling confused. I'd like to understand why and talk about what's going on." If the person is willing to explain, listen carefully and try to understand their perspective. This can open up space to resolve the conflict or clear up any misunderstandings. However, if the other person refuses to talk about it or continues this behavior, it's important to reflect on the impact it has on the relationship. Repeated blocking or exclusion can be signs of disrespect or emotional manipulation, which isn't healthy for either party. Remember that social media doesn't define a relationship, but it can be a tool for communication and transparency. In a healthy relationship, both partners should feel comfortable sharing their digital lives without fear or secrets. If blocking is being used as a form of exclusion or control, it's crucial to address it and, if necessary, reassess the boundaries and dynamics of the relationship. Sudden changes in phone behavior, such as hiding notifications, changing passwords, or avoiding leaving the phone visible, can indicate that something is being kept secret. While everyone has the right to privacy, in the context of a relationship, these actions can create distrust, especially if accompanied by other signs like nervousness when using the phone around the partner. Not always does this behavior mean something negative. Sometimes it could simply reflect a need for more privacy. The best approach is to address the situation calmly and with dialogue, expressing your concerns without accusations. If the other person reacts evasively or aggressively, it may be time to reflect on the transparency within the relationship. In healthy relationships, both should feel comfortable and confident with each other. When friends, family, or acquaintances begin to alert you to changes in your partner's behavior, it's important to listen carefully, even if it's hard to accept. Often, these people can notice signs that you, emotionally involved, may not identify. These warnings can be subtle, like comments about odd behavior, or more direct, such as concerns about the lack of attention or affection in the relationship. While you should always validate concerns with your partner directly, don't dismiss third-party alerts out of pride or fear. Using these observations as points of reflection can help you see what's happening in the relationship. Opening a dialogue with your partner without accusations is key to understanding what may be affecting the relationship and, if needed, finding solutions together. Repeatedly lying about everyday situations like where someone has been, who they were with, or what they did, is one of the clearest signs that something is wrong in a relationship. Lies may start small, but over time they become more frequent and elaborate, creating a tangled web of contradictory stories that only increase distrust. The problem is, when someone constantly lies, the foundation of trust in the relationship begins to crumble, and what once seemed like a solid bond transforms into a guessing game. In many cases, the lies stem from an attempt to hide something important, such as infidelity, a mistake, or a behavior the other person wants to keep hidden. These lies can take many forms: hiding expenses, making excuses not to hang out with you, or even distorting events to make them seem innocent. The worst part is that, when caught in repeated lies, the person often tries to justify or deny the situation, which only worsens the issue and makes it harder to rebuild trust. When you begin to notice that the other person lies frequently, it's time to reflect on the impact this is having on the relationship. If you feel constantly suspicious or unsure of what's true, this can deeply affect your self-esteem and emotional well-being. The best way to handle this is to confront the situation honestly and directly, expressing how the lies are impacting trust and the relationship. In a healthy relationship, truth is the foundation, and without it, the relationship becomes unsustainable. If the lies continue, it may be time to reconsider what you really want and deserve in a partner. Being left out of activities or groups you used to be a part of can be a clear sign of emotional distance and potential disengagement in the relationship. In healthy relationships, it's common to share moments, interests, and even engage in social activities together. When the other person starts deliberately excluding you from important aspects of their life, such as family events, friend meetups, or even everyday conversations, this indicates that something is wrong. Intentional exclusion usually happens when the person is already emotionally distant or engaged in behaviors they don't want you to know about. For example, if your partner starts spending more time with others without explanation, or without including you in those activities, it could be a sign that they're no longer invested in the relationship in the same way. This can also happen in cases of infidelity, where the person avoids spending time with their partner to hide their actions or to prevent raising suspicions. This type of behavior is harmful because it creates a space of distrust and insecurity, which can directly impact the self-esteem and emotional well-being of the person being excluded. If you notice you're being left out of activities you once shared, it's important to approach the situation gently. Asking why this is happening can open up the opportunity for your partner to explain. If the exclusion continues without explanation, it's essential to reflect on its impact on the relationship and consider if you're being treated with the respect and consideration you deserve. Insults, passive-aggressive criticism, or emotional abuse are clear signs that respect has been lost in the relationship. When one partner starts to belittle the other with hurtful jokes or destructive comments, it's not only damaging to self-esteem, but also to the trust between both. This humiliation tactic seeks to create a dynamic of control and emotional manipulation, where the affected partner feels inferior and powerless in decision-making. If you're being humiliated or a target of emotional bullying, it's crucial to recognize that this type of behavior is not acceptable in any healthy relationship. Setting clear boundaries and, if needed, seeking help is vital for handling the situation. Ultimately, a relationship based on disrespect and humiliation has no future, and it may be necessary to reassess the relationship to preserve your emotional health and well-being. So, what did you think of the signs we covered today? Have you experienced any of these situations, or do you have anything to add? Leave your comment below. I'd love to know your thoughts. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to avoid missing any content like this. Oh, and make sure to activate the bell for notifications whenever we have new updates. See you next time. Now that you know the signs you can't ignore, what do you think? Have you been through any of these situations? Or are you noticing something in your relationship? Leave your comment below. I'd love to hear your opinion and chat with you. And if you haven't subscribed yet, don't waste any time. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you won't miss any new content. Also, don't forget to like the video if you found it helpful. Until the next video, and remember, a healthy relationship starts with trust and communication.